So, to recap, if you haven't been with us before, Crumbs is a Girl Scout cookie sales management app that I wanted to make for a friend of mine whose daughter sold 700 boxes of cookies last year in her first season, and my friend was very overwhelmed and had like a 5-page spreadsheet to try to manage that. So, I thought it would be fun to try to help her out. And thus Crumbs was born. So, we've got our user authentication I already have demos signed up, but if I wanted to sign up my cat, we've got some validations and some comprehensive checks. I won't go through all of them, but it'll tell you if your password isn't made up of the correct combination of characters. It'll tell you if your email address is already in use, but we saw that in like the last demo. So I just wanted to briefly skim over that. So we'll sign Tina in and we'll be directed to Tina's dashboard. And as I always say, make it work, then make it cute. So this is our working version, and she'll get cute, right? Because just because today is final demo, it doesn't mean the app is done, right? We all know apps are never done. You might release a version, but it's never done. So this is our
Never.
current version. So we have our create a new order, our currencies, our current inventory, and orders. So I'll start with the current inventory. Let me check my notes, make sure to. So if Tina were a new user and we didn't have demo data, this would populate with all of the cookies with a value of 0 for actual and projected. The actual cookie inventory is based on the cookies. She said, here's my starting inventory, and any orders that are marked complete, it'll adjust the actual inventory. The projected inventory is based on orders that have been submitted but are marked as incomplete. This will be really valuable for pre-sales, right? Because it can go to a negative value. Like we'll say, I'll just pick an order. Are there adventurefuls here? No. This one, do. So if we look at, so our adventurefuls right now, we have 107 actual, and projected we'll only have 61 left after our orders. So if we come into Jane's order and we edit her cookies, let's say she has 107. I'm going to try to save that, and I'm going to close it. Oh, come on now. Oh, because it's not complete. If I tried to mark it as complete, I'll just do that real quick. It's messed up my whole jive. That's okay. I try to mark it as complete and save it. It'll take her actual total down to 0 and her projected to -44. So based on the other orders that are incomplete, this informs what she needs to order. So in the instance of like pre-season, she can get all of her pre-orders in, and then she'll know what she needs to order, because the moms actually, or the families, not exclusively moms, have to actually, they buy the cookies from the Girl Scouts and then the kids resell them, which I did not know that's how that works. So managing inventory is very important. So it all updates dynamically. So if we go back into our adventurefuls, if I try to take this up to 108 and save it, oh, because I made it complete. Okay, well, it won't let it go to 0, but it's already complete, and I'm still working on adjusting that. We'll get to that in a minute. So this will update dynamically. If we come back in and we change our adventurefuls and we take this back down to 1 box and we close it, oh, it's marked complete. This is a terrible demo, y'all. We'll add a couple and
He
now
never goes
we'll
right on demo
see.
day.
So then we see our inventory, our projected inventory adjusted because we added more to this order. But we have the option too to come in here, and I'll stop talking about inventory, and manually update our inventory so that all renders dynamically. So if we go into our orders, and we'll just pick this incomplete order for Jim. Right now it's at $54, but we want to edit some of his cookies, and we can see as we edit what our projected total will be. And if we save it and close, it dynamically updates the new price. Everything works off of the order. And I thought when we started this, I thought that creating an order was going to be the hardest part. So Rance and I decided to decompose it into these components that all are fed by the order. But actually editing an order and getting that to dynamically render on the dashboard ended up being quite complicated. This is the app that state and effect hooks and modals built. I think there's like 50 something state managed variables, and then a lot of dynamic re-renders with use effect, which was a really fun puzzle to figure out. Let me check my notes real quick. So with each of the tables, you can sort based on incomplete, complete, alphabetical, total for all of them. So you can check your cookie inventories. So if we have an order, we'll get to the good stuff. So we have our currencies table. Right now, this is based on orders that are marked as complete. This is what the balance should be in credit payments that Julie has, or Tina has, our test case. So when we are editing our order, we can adjust our cookie quantity. We can come in and say, okay, I've received payment. I've received it in Venmo, and I'll save the changes. And now we see that our Venmo is here. However, that order is still, where did it go? Is still able to be manipulated because the delivery status hasn't been changed yet. So now we'll say that it's delivered. We'll mail and we'll save it. So now we've got our Venmo, we've got our complete status, and our inventory has been adjusted based on this order being complete. So now the actual changed, and we know what we have in our Venmo. The one thing that I've been having some trouble with is this add a cookie to the order. So it does right now, the drop-down menu populates with any of the cookies that are not existing currently on the order. So you can add a new one. But what's happening, I'll open up my inspector real quick. That's a material UI thing with an ARIA. If I try to add a cookie, we'll see it prints what it's catching right now. This is so the way a drop-down menu works in React, right? You've got your options. You've got your opening and closing option tags. And this right now, this caramel chocolate chip is what the text is that's being rendered in between the opening and closing tags. But what it should be capturing is the value of the value attribute in the opening option tag. So I did some research in Stack Overflow and the general web, and a couple of people have mentioned they've had this issue where there's some kind of timing thing. So I'm going to go back in and see if I can play around and maybe put like an await a sync promise or something in there to try to capture that. So that's for this next bug to work out. And so then we go to our create an order. So now we have our order form. And the way, this is another something I want to rework too, I think. The order requires that it has to have a customer ID, right? An order belongs to a customer and a customer belongs to a user. And that's how we can see all of the orders this user has. But so right now it's a little clunky. You have to create a customer first, and then you can create an order. Otherwise, you can't submit an order without the customer ID. So again, I think I can go in and probably use a promise to capture that customer in one single click for creating the whole order. And so this looks a lot like that order form. I haven't put the cookies on it yet. I feel like time has not been on my side since Thanksgiving. But the order form that I thought was going to be the most complicated part to build is actually the easiest. I just need to plop the cookies in there and do like use Axios and do a post request to the backend. So that part I can just knock out pretty quickly. Oh, yeah. So in our cookies also, we can delete cookies, and that will automatically update our inventory and our total. We can start editing our cookies, but then we can cancel and it won't persist any changes, and that remains the same. And then we can also delete the order. And when we delete the order, it automatically puts the cookies that were on the order back into inventory. That was a little tricky to figure out too, but that was fun. This was a really fun cookie puzzle. And speaking of, what was the question? It was the one thing you could change about your approach. I really don't think I would change anything. Rance and I worked really well together. I learned a lot, and I got to think and talk about cookies for a few months. So that was really fun. I have drugged this dead horse of a demo way too long. Rance, would you like to take over?
Sure thing. Honestly, a lot of my work for like the currencies and the orders was actually done relatively early on. I will say, I think orders might have been a bit harder for on my end since there was a lot of if I had my computer, I would be showing what it some of the classes and stuff that went into the orders, but there were different factors and how projected inventory is calculated and such based on queries. I think that, though I do agree, I don't think there's much that I would change on the approach, except for I wish that I knew, I think I said this the first demo, I wish I knew about SQL Alchemy before I tried using Psycho PG, and needed to up into most of the backend work at that point. So yeah, that's probably the only thing that I would have changed. That maybe I'm very happy with the tech stack that we chose though. It was very fun to work with. I had a lot of fun learning Flask. I didn't know that there was or I was not aware of the differences like with dictionaries and the request form data. That was something we had to fix, but that wasn't too much work, thankfully. It was a very great experience, though. I think that we worked well together. It was really fun figuring everything out and playing around with it. I don't think that you talked about the text, if you were happy with the tech stack, Dan.
Yeah, I thought it was great. In my boot camp, we worked with Ruby on the back end. So I did not know any Python coming into this apprenticeship. I mean, I think I like in boot camp, we did 1 day crash course in Python, but that was it. And so, yeah, we picked this tech stack because once we got to Booz Allen, we were both working exclusively in Python. So we wanted to really like immerse ourselves in it so we could have more experience working in the language. So React is super fun. I love the things built in and how dynamic it is. It's a really cool front end, but I really enjoyed working with Rance on a few things in his code and just looking at his code. It's really cool how Flask works, how you can like register the blueprints for your routes and how you can build the models and have computed properties. That's how we did a lot of calculating like the inventory and the currencies. So yeah, I'm really pleased. I would definitely 10 out of 10 use Flask again for a future app on the back end. And I will say too, this project, and actually I think this experience as well, my experience at Booz Allen, like going into boot camp, I have a degree in fine art, and I thought I'm going to be a front end engineer because I'm going to make things cute. And I think I really enjoy the back end much more now. So that was kind of surprising. But yeah, it's been a really good experience. Enjoyed the tech stack.
That did remind me of another thing I would change, though, and not having my computer break. I'm not happy about that. Uh, um, I guess the most surprising thing I learned about was honestly, SQL Alchemy. That was so much fun to play with. I just liked playing around with that a lot. The visuals in the classes of Python make a lot of sense to me. So being able to map everything from like different tables from SQL to Python was very it helped everything click a bit more. I mean, I understood SQL a bit, but it helped click with like how they would interact with each other a lot. Yeah, I think.
Ta-da!
Ta-da!
Who else has questions for Anne and Rance?
Jamie?
Just because my mouse was hovering over the raised hand, I was gonna let somebody else go first. No, I was gonna ask the same question. What was your favorite part of working on this for both of you? I mean, y'all kind of touched base on it a little bit, but I just wanted to give you an opportunity to really hear what you thought was your favorite part.
Working with Rance, talking about cookies and the tech stack. That they were really fun.
Yeah, honestly, working with Anne has really been a joy. She has such a great, a positive, energetic personality. It's been making working on it very enjoyable, and also just I found that I like taking things apart and realizing what the pieces do, and putting them together. So I think that part of SQL Alchemy and I think blueprints and working around with those was probably my favorite part of the project as well. Recently learned that I think it's possible to have like, you know how we had like login required? I think it's possible to do that for an entire blueprint instead of having to do it in front of each endpoint. That was just a fun thing to learn. I did not learn it in time to implement it, but I did learn it, and I think that's neat.
That's really good. Out of curiosity, have y'all